welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 18 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering Lithuania says Russia is behind the IKEA store arson attack, North Macedonia is probing a deadly nightclub blaze, and Israel has launched a deadly wave of airstrikes across Gaza. So firstly, Lithuanian prosecutors have accused two Ukrainian nationals, one of whom is a minor, of carrying out an arson attack on an IKEA store in Vilnius last year on behalf of Russian military intelligence. The attack was planned over several months and involved incendiary devices with a time fuse. Authorities believed that the suspects were following instructions from a terrorist network that communicated via social media and encrypted messaging apps. Investigators suggest that both suspects and their intermediaries may also be connected to other criminal activities in Poland. Officials claim that Russia orchestrated the attack through its military intelligence and security forces. Lithuania and Poland, both NATO and EU members, have been strong supporters of Ukraine and share borders with the Russian Kaliningrad enclave. The incident highlights growing concerns over Russia's potentially backed operations in the region amid these heightened geopolitical times. So what? The use of terror groups and criminal entities by state-based actors is not new, but there has likely been an increase in kinetic attacks carried out by these groups. Several factors contribute to their effectiveness as agents for such operations: their willingness, their access, and their disposability. It is often easier for an operative in a hostile state to hire a criminal in the target country to conduct low-level operations such as arson. This approach is generally safer, operationally, and cheaper than sending an agent from its own country. Unfortunately, this trend is likely to continue and will be very difficult to stop. One potential solution may be to impose harsher penalties on criminals who act on behalf of a foreign state, which could deter such actions in the future. And next, North Macedonian authorities are investigating more than 20 individuals following a devastating fire at a club in northeast Macedonia, which killed at least 59 people. The fire broke out during a concert when pyrotechnics ignited the ceiling, spreading rapidly due to severe fire safety violations. Investigators found that the nightclub lacked proper exits, fire extinguishers, and overhead sprinkler systems, while flammable materials lined the walls. Prosecutors described the disaster as a failure of the system, with officials and the club's management now facing charges for breaching safety violations and endangering the lives on large scales. The tragedy has sparked national mourning, with the government declaring a 7-day mourning period of remembrance and launching a full investigation. The incident has also raised concerns over systematic corruption and regulatory failures on North Macedonia. Survivors and residents have criticised authorities for allowing such safety standards to be compromised, while international aid has arrived to assist the injured. The disaster has reignited calls for stricter enforcement of fire codes and transparency in business operations, particularly regarding the club's conversion from a warehouse in 2012. So what? This was a horrific story and a significant health and safety violation. However, despite numerous online rumours, it appears almost certain that it was just an accident rather than anything nefarious. It is likely that it will lead to jail time for the people in charge of the club and possibly a change in health and safety laws. And lastly, Israel has launched its most intense airstrikes on Gaza since January's ceasefire, citing stalled negotiations over the second phase of the truce. At least 69 Palestinians have been killed in the initial attacks, which Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said were necessary due to Hamas's refusal to release the remaining hostages. The operation, which Israel says will expand beyond airstrikes, threatens to reignite a full-scale war in the region. Hamas condemned the strikes as an unprovoked escalation, warning that they endangered the remaining hostages. This situation has drawn global concern, though there was no immediate US response. The war, which began in October 2023 after Hamas attacked Israel, has led to massive casualties and the displacement of millions of people in Gaza, with over 48,000 Palestinians having been killed. The ceasefire had provided temporary relief, allowing displaced civilians to return to their homes, but the renewed fighting threatens to worsen the humanitarian crisis. Netanyahu's government faces internal pressure with mass protests planned over his handling of the conflict and hostage negotiations. Talks mediated by Egypt, Qatar, and the US remain deadlocked, with Hamas demanding a full Israeli withdrawal, while Israel insists that Hamas needs to be dismantled before considering a truce. So what? Though these strikes will likely aggravate Hamas, it is unlikely to end the talks completely. Israel has almost certainly been given a new level of confidence by the backing of Trump and the number of outspoken pro-Israeli people in his senior leadership. Israelis' confidence comes through in these negotiations, as Hamas will almost certainly never accept total dismantlement as part of any deal. There is some risk that Hamas is using the current ceasefire to rearm and resupply, preparing for a new round of fighting, something that Israel is somewhat powerless to stop. If no side is willing to compromise, then it seems likely that the ceasefire will eventually collapse completely and we'll be back to conflict. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update in global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.